Hello everyone, my name's Doug Presley, resident storyteller and life support system for the Only Beard at Hottest Hell Tours. Now today, we are at the corner of Charters and St. Philip Street at 1001 St. Philip. I had a number of stories I could have told you guys today, and I opted for the most obscure thing I could find. In fact, I'm quite sure I'm the only tour guide in the French Quarter that tells this story. It was originally gifted to me by a lady by the name of Rose Levy, rest in peace. And I did a bit of research on my own and went a little further with it, developed it a little bit more. 1794 would see the second major fire in our city's history. Much of the French Quarter was burned down, and one of the casualties of that fire was on this corner behind me. Now, we're not certain what was there before. What we do know is that the property is bought up by a lady by the name of Juana McCarty in 1796. She would come in and she would build a bunch of shabby little outbuildings on this property. Now, some of you who are familiar with another very famous story here in New Orleans, or who might be familiar with American Horror Story Season 3 Coven, might be thinking, wait a minute, McCarty, wasn't Delphine Lalauerie's maiden name McCarty? Why, yes, it was. In fact, Juana McCarty was her aunt, and Juana had a very similar reputation to her niece. She's known around town to be an incredibly unpleasant, thoroughly unscrupulous human being. Nobody missed her very much when she died in 1830. 1850, a fellow by the name of Olivier Blenou comes in, he buys up the property, he tears down those shabby little outbuildings that Juana McCarty had in place, and he builds this lovely mansion. Unfortunately, in 1853, we would see the largest yellow fever outbreak this city had ever seen. 8,600 people die in that outbreak, one of which is Monsieur Blenou. He leaves this place in his will to his niece, Agatha Lemoyne. Agatha is about as close to polar opposite of Juana McCarty as you're going to find anywhere. She's known to be incredibly generous. She's known to be incredibly kind, loving. She would throw parties for everyone in town, no matter their social standing, and she insisted on serving her guests herself. In fact, one of the most often spirits seen in this place is a woman in a fancy gown, carafe in one hand, serving tray in the other. She'll lean over her guests and smile. They'll get a scent of fresh-cut flowers, a warm, welcoming feeling, and suddenly the apparition just disappears. Well, not long into Agatha's parties, things start going horribly awry. Curtains would go flying open on their own. Things would go flying across the room and hit the walls. People would trip over nothing. Doesn't take very long to figure out that something paranormal is happening in this place. A medium comes in and tells her it's the spirit of Juana McCarty herself that's causing the issues. Agatha does everything in her power to try to appease this spirit. Unfortunately, Juana's just as difficult in death as she was in life. Fast forward to 1910. Agatha would lose the house in a court battle. At this point, Agatha's very old. Some say she died of a broken heart. Either way, she died before she could leave the building. In the 1950s, this place is turned into a hotel. It's renovated. And there are two spirits often seen in this hotel to this day. One incredibly pleasant, the other very not. One of my favorite stories comes from 1964. A couple is enjoying their honeymoon here. They're having breakfast in their room, when all of a sudden something knocks the curtain open, hits the nightstand, rolls across the bed, knocks the other nightstand over. And as they're sitting there trying to figure out what's just happened, the rose in the middle of the table appears to straighten itself as if being straightened by an invisible hand. What appear to be two invisible hands flatten the napkin in front of the man, give it two quick pats. There's a scent of fresh-cut flowers. There's a warm, welcoming feeling. And then there's silence. Those of us who know the story believe that this was Agatha protecting her guests from the ghost of Juana McCarty. I'd like to thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this story with us today. You can check us out on Facebook, check us out on Instagram, and you can join our email list at hottesthelltours.com. And if you're so inclined, you'll find my Venmo down below. Thanks so much. Have a lovely rest of your day.
Is that guy drunk and stealing that car? So weird. Yeah, all right. Okay. Looks like a beautiful car commercial with a wizard in it. Gesture with the... Yeah, exactly. Cajun Gandalf says.
So,
Hold on.
much traffic.
There's a certain amount of dick we're gonna have to take. So
Yeah, we're gonna have to take some dick, but that
let
was
me
a
know-
lot. That was like a parade of dicks.
Sure.
It wasn't like one dick. It was like 7 dicks at once,
was a
all at
7
once.
dick
Okay.
It was just-
casserole.
yeah.